Let's talk about what to keep in mind as we grow and supersize and build our businesses. Sharon Horne-Ellstrom here, focusing on communication-related idioms for the month of September to coincide with this year's annual challenge, the BU 365-day challenge. We're doing one thing every day that improves us in some way. So every day we're taking a little action step to make us better human beings, better versions of ourselves. So today's expression, today's idiom is to keep in mind. To keep in mind, of course, means it's used to describe something that we want to remember, something that we want to not forget or take into consideration, something important. Means we want to acknowledge, contemplate, deal with, examine, look into further, form opinions on, look at and recognize, pay attention to, right? We want to remember and pay attention to something. We want to keep it in mind. So what does this have to do with building and supersizing our business? This idiom, the exact origin of it, I really could not ascertain from the internet yesterday. It's related to, of course, bring to mind, which dates back to 1433 and became even more popular when it was used by Robert Burns in Old Lang Syne in 1788. So to keep in mind, to bring to mind, to bear in mind, we've talked about that idiom before. All of them basically mean what's important, what is something important that we want to remember. So I was thinking about what are different ways to remember. For me, I have to write things down. If I don't write it down, if I have an idea and I don't write it down immediately, almost immediately, my brain's going in 1,000 different directions and that idea is lost. It might pop back again, might be a decade before it pops back again, or I might not ever remember it again. So for me personally, the number one way to keep things in mind is to write them down, to document them. You can also use repetition. You know, we learned all kinds of ways to remember things in school, right? Memorization, repetition, actually create physical reminders. People used to tie strings around their fingers. I used to have rubber bands around my wrist to remind me of things. I set alarms now on my cellular device. We can ask someone to remind us. If we don't have a physical someone to ask, we can ask Alexa or another tool or an app or things like that these days. There's so many opportunities to help us remember important things, to capture important things. We could spend a whole day talking about different ways to capture information and different things that are important to us. I use recording a lot these days. So we want to think of ways to remember, but what else is important that we keep in mind as we're building and growing and supersizing our business? A couple things come to mind. Number one, we need to trust ourselves, and we need to remember that we are our business's most valuable, most important asset. That means we need to continually develop and grow and learn so that we can create what it is we want to see in the world. It is up to each and every one of us as leaders and business owners and entrepreneurs and creators to create, set the example, model the thing that we want to see in the world. Because by setting the example, we are showing other people what else is possible. And the truth is, there are infinite possibilities, there are infinite paths, and each one of us needs to actually figure out our own. Success leaves clues, of course, but it takes time, energy, and effort, which is often disguised as work and choices. A lot of people like to say hustle and sacrifice. I like to say hustling and sacrificing are optional. It's how we look at the situation, whether we think we're sacrificing something or not. If I am making a choice to do something, I'm not sacrificing all the other things that I didn't do. That's a really loss-oriented, scarcity way of looking at life and the world. I like to look at it that we have infinite possibilities, and we choose among those possibilities what's right for us, and that's how we create our life. That isn't a sacrifice, that's just our journey. And will our journey have ups and downs? Absolutely, but that helps to create and forge us into the humans that we're meant to be. So, love to know your take on this particular idiom. If you've had experience with it, if you've used it, I guarantee I've said, hey, keep this in mind, probably thousands of times in my lifetime, and will continue to, because it's just another way to say, remember, hey, this is important, pay attention to this. Please pay attention to this, because if you don't, it might cause you more challenges than you need to experience down the road. All right, have an awesome day. I will, of course, be with you tomorrow with another communication-related idiom. If you've got one you want me to cover, hit me up. Otherwise, I'll see you tomorrow.